On the distant planet of Zeloria, the atmosphere was tinged with a mixture of excitement and apprehension. In the vast auditorium of the Galactic Alliance's premier university, a diverse assembly of students from various planets clustered in their designated zones, their unique features reflecting the rich tapestry of life in the galaxy. Among these students were the Zeltrons, beings with translucent skin that shimmered with their emotions, and the towering Argonites, whose rock-like bodies glistened under the auditorium lights. Despite their differences, a unified sense of curiosity bound them together today. The topic of today's special lecture was none other than the newly encountered species from a previously uncharted part of the galaxy, humans. The lecture hall buzzed with alien whispers and digital chirps as Professor Nagath, a distinguished figure with iridescent wings, fluttered to the center stage. "Esteemed students," he began, his voice echoing through the amplifiers. "Today we delve into a fascinating new chapter of our Galactic Alliance. We explore the combat tactics of humanity, a species that has surprised many with its innovative, albeit primitive, approaches." Screens behind him flickered to life, displaying images of Earth, a beautiful planet of blues and greens, contrasted by the bustling, advanced cityscapes of Zeloria. "Humans," he continued, "while technologically inferior, possess a tactical ingenuity that has allowed them to overcome adversaries much stronger than themselves." In the audience, a young student named Threx, who belonged to a species known for their strategic prowess, scoffed at the notion. "Primitive beings using primitive tactics," he muttered, confident in his own superior knowledge of warfare. The professor introduced a series of combat scenarios in which humans had participated. The first scenario depicted a historical Earth battle, where humans utilized the terrain and weather conditions to their advantage, turning the tide against a technologically superior foe. "They call this guerrilla warfare," explained Nagath. "It emphasizes mobility, surprise, and extremely decentralized command and control systems. Rather unusual, but effective." As the scenarios unfolded, another human tactic was highlighted: psychological warfare. Humans had a penchant for undermining enemy morale through various means, including misinformation and the strategic use of fear. A student from a race known for their emotional sensitivity shuddered. "How barbaric! To attack the mind and spirit is considered highly unethical in our culture," she whispered to her neighbor. The discussion shifted to a recent event where humans had been involved in an interstellar conflict. Despite being outnumbered and outgunned, they had managed to inflict significant losses on their enemies by exploiting their lack of adaptability and over-reliance on automated systems. Notice how humans adapt quickly, using their enemies' strengths against them. Nagath pointed out, this adaptability is perhaps their greatest asset in warfare. Threx remained unimpressed. Adaptability is one thing, but raw power and advanced technology should prevail, he argued quietly, still unconvinced of any real merit in human tactics. As the lecture drew to a close, Professor Nagath announced that the next session would involve a simulated war game, with students invited to participate and apply human tactics in a controlled environment. The news stirred a wave of excitement and nervousness throughout the hall. Threx, intrigued despite himself, decided to sign up for the simulation. "I will prove that these human tactics are overrated," he declared, his voice full of determination. Outside the auditorium, as students dispersed, discussions continued. Many were skeptical, others were curious, but all were unaware of just how deeply the upcoming simulation would challenge their perceptions of strength and strategy in the galaxy. Thus, the stage was set for an unprecedented exchange of knowledge and tactics that would soon reveal. In the grand simulation chamber of the university, a vast digital landscape was projected onto the walls, complete with terrain ranging from dense forests to arid deserts. Students from different species, including Threx, gathered in their assigned teams, their eyes fixed on the screens displaying their objectives. "Your mission," announced the simulation coordinator, an android with a sleek metallic frame, "is to capture the enemy stronghold using any tactics you deem necessary. You will be graded on efficiency, creativity, and minimal casualties." Threx and his team, confident in their superior technology and strength, quickly dismissed the idea of adopting human tactics, Instead, they planned a straightforward assault, relying heavily on their advanced weaponry and armored exoskeletons. Meanwhile, a team of students who were intrigued by the human approach decided to implement guerrilla tactics. They dispersed into small units, intending to harass and confuse their opponents by hitting quickly and disappearing into the simulated environment. As the simulation commenced, Threx's team marched boldly towards the enemy base, their movements precise and calculated. They encountered little resistance at first, overpowering small outposts with sheer firepower. However, the guerrilla team was watching and waiting. Using the dense forest to their advantage, they ambushed Threx's team from hidden positions, striking swiftly and then melting away before any counterattack could be organized. Each skirmish left Threx's team slightly more disoriented and frustrated. In another part of the simulation, the psychological warfare aspect was introduced by another team using human tactics. They hacked into the communication systems of their opponents, sending false reports of breaches and imminent attacks. This sowed confusion among their ranks, causing some teams to fracture under the stress of misinformation. Threx, growing increasingly irritated, found his confidence shaken as his team's progress was continuously thwarted by these hit-and-run tactics. "Regroup and fortify our positions," he ordered, his voice betraying a hint of desperation. They had not anticipated such resistance from tactics they deemed primitive. As hours passed, the guerrilla team used the terrain to their advantage, setting traps and executing feigned retreats that lured Threx's forces into compromising situations. Meanwhile, the team specializing in psychological tactics continued to erode the enemy's morale, making their coordinated actions nearly impossible. The climax of the simulation approached as Threx's team, now significantly reduced in numbers and morale, made a final push towards the stronghold. However, they were met by a coalition of teams using mixed human tactics, who had formed a defensive alliance. The battle was intense and chaotic. Threx's team was caught in a crossfire of psychological ploys and physical ambushes, their technological superiority overshadowed by the strategic depth of their adversaries. As the simulation ended, Threx stood amidst the digital ruins of his strategy, his team defeated. The coordinator announced the results, highlighting the success of the teams that had embraced human tactics, praising their adaptability, creativity, and effective use of resources. Threx, his pride bruised but his mind open, approached the successful teams. "Teach me," he conceded, eager to understand the depths of the strategies that had bested him. His request was met with nods of approval and smirks of satisfaction. In the aftermath, the students, especially those like Threx who had learned to respect and integrate human tactics, discussed what had transpired. They analyzed the simulations, debated strategies, and most importantly, learned from each other, realizing that in the vastness of the galaxy, sometimes the most unconventional methods could lead to victory. In the weeks following the simulation, the university buzzed with a new energy. Threx's admission of the effectiveness of human tactics sparked a wave of interest among the students, leading to the formation of a special club dedicated to studying and simulating Earth's military strategies. Threx, humble yet eager, joined as one of its first members. The club's first project was to analyze historical human conflicts, focusing on those that showcased unconventional warfare. They delved into the details of ancient Earth tactics such as the use of decoys in the Battle of the Bulge and the coordination of the Mongol horde under Genghis Khan. This exploration was not just academic. It involved active reenactments in the virtual environment to fully understand the execution and implications of each strategy. As the club members dissected these battles, they found themselves impressed by the humans' ability to think beyond conventional warfare, incorporating elements of psychological manipulation, rapid adaptation, and ruthless efficiency. "It's not just about the strength of the arms, but the resolve of the mind," Threx noted during one of their discussions, his perspective broadening. Eager to test their new knowledge, the club organized a larger, more complex simulation. They invited other students from across the university, challenging them to overcome a human-style campaign designed by the club. Threw took the lead in setting up scenarios that required quick thinking and adaptability, traits he had come to respect deeply. As the new simulation began, the participants were thrown into a scenario mimicking the Earth's World War II European theater. The club had meticulously crafted the environment to reflect the chaotic and dynamic nature of the conflict. The participants had to deal with supply shortages, misinformation, guerrilla attacks, and shifting alliances, all common aspects of the human wars they had studied. Threx watched as the team struggled to adapt to the constant change and unpredictability. He saw groups trying to form alliances, only to have them fracture under pressure. Others resorted to brute force, which proved costly in resources and virtual lives. A few, however, started to adopt the human tactics, using the chaos to their advantage, striking unpredictably and forming fluid alliances. Throughout the simulation, Threx and the club members adjusted variables in real time, introducing weather complications, communication failures, and even political upheaval. "Let's see how they handle a sudden change in leadership," Threw suggested, throwing a curveball that forced every team to reassess their strategies. As the simulation concluded, those who had embraced the flexible, dynamic strategies often championed by humans during their historical conflicts performed best. These teams had not only adapted, but also anticipated changes, much like chess masters thinking several moves ahead. In the debriefing session, Threx shared his observations. "We've learned that the essence of human tactics lies in their unpredictability and their psychological impact. They wage war on multiple fronts, not just the physical battlefield, but also the minds of their opponents." The session turned into a lively forum for debate and discussion, with participants eager to apply their insights into their own culture's strategies and beyond. The success of this larger simulation led to the university sanctioning more such events, turning what started as a small club initiative into a recognized part of the curriculum. As Threx and his peers continued to explore and understand the depth of human strategic thought, they not only gained a new appreciation for the art of war, but also prepared themselves for future leadership roles in a galaxy where months had passed since the inception of the Tactical Studies Club, and its influence had permeated beyond the university's virtual simulation labs. News of its innovative approach to strategy and warfare studies reached the Galactic Council, piquing the interest of various military and diplomatic corps throughout the galaxy. It wasn't long before the club was invited to a council meeting to present their findings and share their simulations with the galaxy's most influential leaders. On the day of the presentation, Threx and his team prepared their simulations with meticulous detail, showcasing not only human military tactics, but also their diplomatic strategies, which had been crucial in resolving numerous conflicts on Earth. The council chamber, a massive space with floating seats arranged in an amphitheater setup, was filled with representatives of different species, each bringing their own preconceptions and biases about warfare and diplomacy. As the presentation began, holographic displays lit up the chamber, illustrating some of the most dramatic moments in human history. Threx led the presentation, explaining the concept of total war and its implications for both military and civilian sectors. He discussed how humans often mobilized their entire societies during times of war, a concept foreign to many species that relied solely on professional armies. Following the historical overview, the team demonstrated a recent simulation that had particularly impressed the university faculty. It involved a reenactment of the Cuban Missile Crisis, emphasizing the tightrope of diplomacy and brinksmanship that humans were capable of walking. The simulation highlighted the human ability to negotiate under extreme pressure, showcasing their diplomatic communication strategies that staved off a catastrophic war. The council watched intently, some members visibly unnerved by the humans' capacity for both destruction and peacemaking. "It is a curious balance, this human propensity for war, paired with an equally strong drive for peace," remarked one of the senior council members, a Talarian whose species was known for their peaceful conflict resolution. Threx responded, "Indeed, it is this balance that allows humans to thrive under pressure, to forge alliances from the brink of annihilation, and to innovate in ways that many of us might find paradoxical." Interest grew as the discussion turned to the implications of integrating human strategies into the Galactic Alliance's defense protocols. A workshop was proposed, and soon, military strategists from various planets were collaborating with Threx's team to adapt human tactics for use in interstellar warfare. This workshop led to several breakthroughs in tactical simulations, incorporating human-inspired strategies that prioritized versatility and adaptability. These strategies were particularly effective in mock battles against AI-driven war scenarios, which had been programmed to simulate potential threats from beyond the known galaxy. As the workshop concluded, the Galactic Council decided to incorporate a new directive into the Alliance's military training programs, dubbed the Human Tactics Initiative, HTA. The initiative was to be piloted in various military academies across the galaxy, with Threx and his team providing support and expertise. Back at the university, the Tactical Studies Club had grown in both size and scope. What began as a small group of students curious about human warfare had transformed into a key contributor to galactic security strategies. Threx found himself at the forefront of this shift, leading discussions, publishing papers, and even speaking at interstellar conferences. He often reflected on the journey his curiosity had sparked, marveling at how the study of one species' history could influence the military doctrines of a galaxy. The club continued to push the boundaries of what was possible, drawing from a myriad of human experiences to prepare the Galactic Alliance for the unforeseen challenges of the future. The impact of the Human Tactics Initiative, HTI, became fully apparent when an unforeseen threat emerged from the edge of the galaxy. A mysterious and aggressive species known as the Kraden began encroaching on Allied territories, their attacks swift and brutal, leaving devastation in their wake. The Galactic Alliance, now incorporating human strategies into their responses, faced their first real test under the new doctrine. As the threat escalated, Threx was appointed to lead a task force designed to counter the Kraden incursion. Using the principles he had learned from human military tactics, he formulated a plan that emphasized flexibility and unpredictability, akin to the guerrilla warfare techniques once foreign to him. In the command center, a buzz of activity surrounded Threx as he deployed his units across various fronts. His approach was unconventional. Instead of mounting a direct assault on the Kraden forces, he ordered small, mobile units to engage in hit-and-run attacks, aimed at disrupting enemy supply lines and communication networks. Each unit was equipped with the latest in stealth technology, much of it inspired by human advancements in warfare. Threx had also adopted the human concept of a task force, specialized teams designed for specific types of missions, a novelty in Galactic Alliance military structure. Meanwhile, the club back at the university monitored the situation closely. They set up simulations to predict possible Kraden responses, using data fed from the battlefield to adjust their models. This constant stream of information allowed Threx's team to stay one step ahead, adapting their tactics in real time. The Kraden, unaccustomed to such resistance, began to falter. Their initial momentum slowed as they struggled to counter the unpredictable and agile maneuvers of Threx's forces. It was a turning point in the conflict, demonstrating the efficacy of the HTI under actual battle conditions. However, Threx knew that military might alone would not secure a lasting peace. He proposed a diplomatic initiative, drawing again from human history, specifically their success in negotiating complex treaties during times of war. With the Council's approval, he reached out to the Kraden with an offer of ceasefire and talks. Negotiations were tense. The Kraden, a proud warrior species, were initially resistant to any form of compromise. However, Threx, utilizing human diplomatic techniques, gradually began to make headway. He presented evidence of the inevitable stalemate and mutual destruction that would result from prolonged conflict, persuading the Kraden leaders to consider a strategic partnership instead of continued hostility. The talks culminated in the Treaty of Varka, named after the star system where the negotiations were held. The treaty not only ended hostilities, but also established a framework for cooperation between the Kraden and the Galactic Alliance, focusing on security against common external threats. As peace returned, Threx was hailed as a hero, both for his leadership in the conflict and his role in negotiating the treaty. His success cemented the value of the HTI, with many attributing the victory as much to the human-inspired strategies as to the bravery and skill of the galactic forces. Back at the university, Threx organized a series of lectures and debriefings about the conflict, sharing his experiences and the lessons learned. The Tactical Studies Club had not only influenced military strategies, but had also proven crucial in real-world conflict resolution. The university, once a place of academic pursuit, had become a pivotal center in galactic defense and diplomacy, influencing policy and strategy across the stars. Threx and his team continued to innovate and teach, driven by a profound understanding that the study of one culture's tactics could indeed alter the course of galactic history. In the aftermath of the Treaty of Varka, the Galactic Alliance experienced a period of unprecedented peace and collaboration. The successful integration of human tactics into interstellar warfare had not only repelled the Kraden threat, but it also transformed military and diplomatic strategies across numerous civilizations. Threx, once a skeptic of human methods, now stood as a vanguard for this new era of tactical and diplomatic thought. Threx's role in the resolution of the Kraden conflict had elevated him to a position of considerable influence. He was invited to join the High Council of the Galactic Alliance, where his expertise was sought in shaping future defense and foreign policies. But Threx had broader visions. Inspired by the profound impact of education on galactic affairs, he proposed the establishment of an interstellar academy dedicated to the study of military strategy and diplomacy from a multicultural perspective. The proposal was met with widespread approval, and soon, the Galactic Strategy Institute, GSI, was founded, with campuses spread across various worlds, each tailored to study the specific strategies and cultures of local and distant civilizations. Threx was appointed as the first chancellor of the institute, a role he accepted with a commitment to foster a legacy of learning and mutual understanding. At the GSI, students from diverse backgrounds gathered, eager to learn about different approaches to conflict and cooperation. The curriculum was rich and varied, incorporating simulations, historical analyses, and real-world internships with the Galactic Council and military. The institute quickly became a melting pot of ideas, where theories were tested and new strategies were born. Threx often lectured at the GSI, sharing his experiences and insights. His courses on the application of human tactics were among the most popular, drawing students and scholars from across the galaxy. Through these lectures, Threx emphasized the importance of adaptability, cultural understanding, and the need for a balanced approach to power and diplomacy. As years turned into decades, the influence of the GSI continued to grow. Its graduates went on to become leaders, strategists, and diplomats, shaping the political and military landscapes of their respective systems. The ripple effects of Threx's teachings and the broader curriculum of the GSI were felt throughout the galaxy, promoting a new era of strategic thought that prioritized cleverness and cooperation over brute force and isolation. Outside the academic realm, the Galactic Alliance remained stable and secure, with conflicts becoming increasingly rare and less devastating. The strategies developed and disseminated through the GSI played a crucial role in this shift, providing leaders and commanders with the tools to resolve disputes without resorting to war. In his later years, Threx reflected on his journey from a tactical purist to a champion of diverse strategies. His memoirs, titled Across the Stars, A Strategist's Journey, became a bestseller, offering insights into his transformation and the pivotal moments of his career. As Threx retired from his chancellorship, he looked out over the sprawling campus of the GSI, teeming with young minds eager to learn and lead. He felt a profound sense of accomplishment, knowing that the legacy of the Institute was a testament to the enduring power of education and understanding. The galaxy, once fraught with misunderstandings and conflicts, now thrived on the principles of strategy and diplomacy, inspired by a once misunderstood species from a distant corner of the universe. Thus, the story of Threx and the impact of human tactics concluded, leaving behind a legacy that would guide the future of the Galactic Alliance for generations to come.